Hello everyone, my name is Hexy and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to configure voice over IP, and this is the setup as you can see on your screens, but the setup is already configured and these are the configurations that we have to make for the setup to work. These are router configurations and these are switch configurations, as you can see. So I'm going ahead to show you that the phones are here registered and they have IP addresses, as you can see. iPhone 1 with IP address 192.168.10.4 is being registered, and then IP phone 2 has been registered with this IP address. And if you go ahead to our PCs and we check their IP addresses, we can find that they are also in different VLAN. We have created VLAN 20 for them and VLAN 10 for the IP phones, as you see here. So let me go ahead and check the IP address. You can see that this IP address is 192.168.20.3 and the net mask is that, then the default gateway is 20.1. So if you try pinging 192.168.20, extension discover the IP address. .2, you will see that they are successfully communicating. So let's go ahead and recreate the same scenario and we do the configuration part of it. So here I will have to slope down and then I pick other instruments. We shall need a router of 2811 series. Then I go ahead on switches and I pick a switch of 9260 series. Come here to end devices, I pick two IP phones and I also pick two desktops or two computers. So let's begin by the router. Go to command line interface, type in no, enter, enable, configure terminal. We have to go to this interface, FastEthernet 0/0. So we are going to do the configurations. Interface FS0/0, enter. We add in the IP address 192.168.1.1, the net mask 255.255.255.0, enter, then a not shut command to activate the port. You can see the status changed to up, but earlier on or prior it was administratively down, so we had to initiate it or to initialize it and make it up. We are done. Now, as the scenario, we have to go ahead and create sub interfaces. So we have to create sub interfaces. As you can see here, this interface .10 it's for IP phones and then 20 it's for data, which will supply our computers IP addresses. Let's go back. Here we are. Interface FS0/0.10, it's a sub interface. IP add 192.168.10.1, then the net mask, hit enter. Remember this 10 is a VLAN that you're going to create. We're going to create VLAN 10, and then we assign the switch IPs to that VLAN for voice, and then we switch the trunking and then the voice VLAN, as we will see. After that, we also have to enable encapsulation. 1Q10 IP, then we exit from there. That's all. The encapsulation, we can go ahead and also make a description. The description is that this line is dedicated for IP phones. Thank you. Then hit enter, then we exit from there. We have to create a sub interface .20 for data, encapsulation .1Q20, then we add IP 192.168.20.1, and then the net mask, enter. You can also go ahead and add in the description. This line is dedicated for thank you. Hit enter, and then we exit from there. So far we've assigned IP address to the interface itself as Ethernet 0/0. We went ahead and created a sub interface .10, assigned it IP address, we encapsulated it, and we described it. We also went ahead and created a sub interface 20 for our data or for our computers. We assigned it IP, encapsulated it, and also described it. Now we are going to create DHCP that will distribute IP addresses to our IP phones and our computers. IP DHCP pool, to give it a name, voice, enter. The network, which is 192.168.10.0, the net mask .255.255.0. Then we have to assign a default router, which is the IP address of the router itself, but for the sub interface of voice it's 192.168.10.1. We go ahead and enable option 150. 150 is just to locate the TFTP server in our network. The function of the TFTP server is that when we have IP phones, they will go looking for configuration files from a server. Now you have to dedicate a server for them, or a server where you will be keeping configuration files like the iOS Internet Operating System for the CISCO routers, just in case you've downloaded updates or you need to upgrade the firmware. You download the firmware and then place them in a shared folder on the TFTP server. Then you assign that. Anyway, you tell your IP phones where to find the files from. It's the thing that you're going to do. It's option 150. 150 basically when you have multiple TFTP servers in your network, but when you have one TFTP server, it's option 66. But this time round, let me use 150. Then the IP address of the server, it's 192. This time round, the server will be our router itself, 192.168 20.10.1, enter. What else haven't we done? We've created a network as in a default router. We've assigned the network and then the option for DHCP. Now we are done with that. We exit from there. We go ahead and create another pool for data for our computers. This pool was for voice. That means it will be dedicated to IP phones only, because they are the one that allow us to communicate over the network. So we have to create a DHCP pool for computers. IP DHCP pool, give it name data, enter. The network is 192.168.20.1, then 255.255.255.0, enter. We also need to assign a default router, 92.168.20.1, enter. That's all that we have to create here. Default router, network, nothing like option. And then we exit. After exiting, what we are going to do next is configuring telephony service on the router. Telephony, enter. Then we have to configure maximum directory numbers. With maximum directory numbers, now here I'm having a scenario of 2 phones, so I'm going to create 2 directories, each phone with its independent directory. Type in max-dn2, directory number must be 2. Then we go ahead and type in maximum ephones. As you can see, currently we're having 2 phones, so the maximum ephone I'll still put in 2. Maximum ephones 2, enter. We'll go ahead and auto assign the phones by typing in the command auto assign 1 to 5, auto assign 4 to 6 respectively. Auto assign 1 to 5, then auto assign 4 to 6. So far that's it. Also exit from there. Now on global configuration mode, we have to go to ePhones, then we select the phone number, either ePhone 1 or ePhone 2. Go ahead and type in ePhone hyphen directory number 1, enter. It's ePhone, not ePhones. ePhone DN 1, then we give it a number. As you can see, let me put in a question mark, then it will show us. Either you exit from there, you put it in negative command, a no command, which is a negative, and then another command that will go after the no. But here the same round we are assigning a number, a telephone number, a line number that we shall use to call this phone. So go ahead and type in n number, and then you give it a number. Let me give it 6050, enter. I go to ePhone 2, the same thing, number, I type in 4590. It's the extension number that I've assigned to it. Then I exit from there. But on telephone service, we had forgot to configure something, so we have to go back to telephony, enter. Then we type in IP source. The source IP is the router's IP, 192.168.10.1 space. Then we need to assign a port number, and if you see, the port number ranges from 2000 to 9999. If I put in a question mark, you can go ahead and see. you can specify a range from 2000. It can be 2000 itself, but it must be between 2000 to 10,000. But we don't reach to 10,000. The last digit that we can use is 9,999. So the port number I will use 2010, enter. That's it, nothing else. We've created maximum directory, maximum ePhones, if auto assigned. Then we've also added in source address, IP source address, and then the port number for the telephony service. And that's it. Now on our switch we have enable TV. First of all, FastEthernet 0/1, the first port, we have to make it a trunk, and port 2 and 3 we switch them to access mode, then we assign them to VLAN, to VLANs, either VLAN 10 for, but we have to assign them to both VLANs. We assign VLAN 10 for IP phones because they are all going to use this one port. The port will be connected to the phone, then from the phone the computer will be picking from the phone itself. That's why you have to assign those two ports to both VLANs, to VLAN 10 and VLAN 20. Each will serve its purpose. VLAN 10 will distribute IPs to the phones, and then VLAN 20 will distribute IPs to the computers respectively. So I go ahead, interface FS0/1, switch port, mode trunk, enter. I exit. Go back to interface, range FS0/223, switch port, mode, access, make them access, then switch port, voice, VLAN 10. We dedicate it to VLAN 10, but VLAN 10 does not exist, so we have to go ahead and create VLAN 10. We haven't created it. Here VLAN 10, enter. We give it a name, say voice of IP. You also go ahead and create VLAN 20. We give it a name, data. Now we go back, interface, range that, and then switch port, mode, access, switch port, voice, VLAN 10, enter. VLAN 10 is for voice or for our IP phones. Still, you have to switch the very port to VLAN 20 such that it can distribute IP address to the computers. Switch port, access, VLAN 20, enter, and we are done there. We have to write the configurations, and also here exit to write the configurations. Let's check the running configs. As you can see, DHCP for voice is created, and this is the network .10. The default router option 50 is enabled. Then DHCP for data, this is the network .20, and the default route is also there. Now for sub interfaces, here we are. This is interface F0/0. We've assigned it this IP, and the duplex is auto, the speed is auto. And we've also went ahead and created sub interface FastEthernet 0/0.10, and we had to describe this. port. This line is dedicated for IP phones. Thank you. We went ahead and encapsulated the port to .10, as in .1Q10, which is the VLAN number, but here it shows it doesn't have any IP address, for which you have to add the IP address. We went ahead and created a subinterface 20. A description was also there. This line is dedicated for computers in this network. Thank you. We encapsulated. The encapsulation format is .1Q and the VLAN number, which is VLAN 20. We went ahead and assigned IP address to this port, as you can see in the subnet mask. Now what we have to do is assigning IP address to this sub interface. And when we slope down, you can see telephony service are enabled. Maximum IP phones are 2. Maximum directories that is created are 2. Then IP source address, which is this. But remember, we have assigned it to VLAN 1. And here on sub interface of VLAN, we don't have IP on this interface, of which you have to add the other IP of the source. IP source address, this one. And auto assign 1 to 5, 4 to 6. Ephone 1 with the number is extension number, Ephone 2 with this extension number, and that's it. So let's go ahead, interface FS0/0.10 IP add 192.168.10.1 to 55.255.255.0, enter, and that's it. We write settings and then we show running configurations, and we see whether the IP is added to the sub interface, and here we go, the IP is added, but last time it was missing. Yep. Now let's go ahead and connect our devices. We need a cross, as in a straight through cable, F0/0 to FastEthernet 0/1. I'm tired of picking one cable, so I'm going to the cable that I want to select. Then I hold Ctrl down to select it randomly. Select the cable such that if I'm done connecting one device, the cable doesn't disappear. I can connect another device there and then, as you can see. On the IP phone, select PC and connect it to the PC and a switch to the switch. That's the order. By default, these phones are not plugged in power, so come and plug them in power, and you can see the ports have changed. Come here, plug it in power. And wait for the phones to be registered and IPs distributed. What we had forgot to do, go to our computers, come to desktop, and then we select DHCP instead of static IP. We need dynamic, whereby the DHCP server must allocate IPs. Currently it's getting a beeper and it has failed to receive. Let's do the same thing here. And this one is successful, so we have to go back and go to static, then back to DHCP, such that it receives an IP. As you can see, successful. DHCP request is successful. Now our phones, they haven't received IPs yet, and they are not registered yet, as you can see. But this phone has received an IP, which is VLAN 10 app, the link or the status, and the IP is 192.168.3/24. The gateway is 192.168.10.1, and the line or the extension number assigned to this phone is 4590. This one is also registered, and the extension number is 6050, and the IP is 192.168.10.2/24. So let's go ahead and make phone calls and see whether what we've configured. But before we make phone calls, let's see whether the extensions are assigned. And here you go, the extension is assigned. Let's go to this phone also. The extension is assigned, and here extension is assigned, or the line number. Now we have to do one thing. We have to go ahead and type this extension in our phone 3 and see whether the phone will ring. So let's type in 45 90 and then let's say, there you go, the phone is ringing. That means we have configured each and everything properly as we meant to configure. Now if this one picks, you can see the phone, these people are now connected. So they are conversing, busy conversing, enjoying, but they don't know the trick behind what are the configurations. They are just enjoying making phone calls. So if this was of use to you, just subscribe to the channel for more videos. Thank you, and see you in our next video, where we are going to configure only IP phones without computers. Thank you, and have a nice day.